The first thing you notice is the stench. It's like stepping into a dumpster full of old fish guts, unwashed socks, and a week-old gym bag left in a sauna. But here's the thing. This isn't even close to the worst part. You're in colonial America, circa 1750, but it might as well be the Dark Ages. The clothes are worse. Think overalls made from scratchy wool, and shoes so old they're practically lace-up rocks. You wonder if you'll ever get to wear something soft again. But probably not. You'd think this jail would be like any other place of detention, maybe grim, but somewhat organized. Maybe it has a few modern touches. However, nothing prepares you for the complete lack of basic hygiene or comfort. The walls are splintered wood, the floorboards warped from years of neglect and dampness. The moment you're thrown in, it's like being locked in an over-practiced quarantine room where everyone's cough is suspiciously wet. You're sharing space with a man who looks like he hasn't seen a razor or a bath for weeks. The smell alone could knock out a horse. You're now officially a prisoner in colonial America, a place where every day is survival day. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, you realize the real test isn't how long you can last physically, but mentally. You start wondering if there's a hidden agenda behind this setup. Maybe it's a twisted job interview or some sort of medieval reality show. Suddenly, the thought of an escape plan starts to sound less like a dream and more like a necessity. But here's what nobody expected. You're about to find out that colonial jail wasn't just tough on prisoners, it was designed to break them. And you're next in line for the treatment. The first thing you notice is how quiet it suddenly becomes in your tiny prison cell. Your heart thuds against your ribcage like a drum line playing just for you. That's not going to end well, you think. But here's the thing. When you try to move, every muscle screams with pain and protest from your cramped position on the hard wooden bench. It's like trying to run a marathon after sitting in a car all day without stretching. Your options are limited. Stay still or risk waking up in even more pain tomorrow. You brace yourself for the worst, but then something unexpected happens. He sighs deeply and lets his hand fall back to his side. I thought I had no choice, he mutters under his breath. You wonder if he is talking to you or just talking himself out of whatever scheme was brewing. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the cell door rattles loudly as if a ghost is trying to get in. Your heart skips a beat, and your mind races with possibilities. Is it an inspection? A prisoner escape? Or maybe just another guard making their rounds? But here's what nobody expected. The door creaks open slowly, and two figures step into the light, one tall and imposing, the other shorter, but with eyes that seem to pierce right through you. They don't look like ordinary guards. Your cellmate shifts uncomfortably next to you, glancing back and forth between the newcomers as if deciding whether to make a run for it or stay put and hope for mercy. You feel a cold sweat break out on your forehead as you realize that whatever is about to happen is far from over. The taller figure speaks first in a voice that echoes the authority of a prison warden, but there's something else in his tone, an edge of curiosity mixed with caution. We've been watching, he says, his eyes never leaving either of you. This is why we're here, the warden continues. Your actions have caught our attention. He gestures toward the book being offered to your cellmate. You exchange confused glances with your cellmate. What does this mean? What is in a book? The air feels charged, as if any wrong move could set off a chain reaction you're powerless to stop. But here's where everything changes. Suddenly, the mystery deepens. Before anyone can react, the warden pulls out another object from behind his back, a small, intricate lock with strange markings etched into its surface. There's a deal to be made, he says, placing it carefully on your cellmate's lap. Your mind races, trying to make sense of this bizarre turn of events. You'd think these guards were here for punishment or interrogation. Maybe they wanted information. But actually, it seems there is something far more complex at play. As you sit there, bewildered, a new question looms large in the air like a dark cloud on a clear day. What happens next? And how do you survive when even your captors are unpredictable? You're out for what feels like minutes, maybe hours. Just when you thought a breath of fresh air was all you'd get today, reality hits harder than any whip ever could. Scene. You see a small group of guards returning with a cart full of supplies and new prisoners. But here's the thing. The twist isn't what happens next. It's something that happened yesterday. Something you didn't notice, but now can't unsee. Scene. As the cart passes, you catch sight of a man being forced off, his face bruised and bleeding. You realize every prisoner brought in today has a similar mark on them, a dark red patch around their neck, like someone strangled them with an invisible hand. But this isn't a sign of abuse. It's worse. Scene. The guards lock the new prisoners inside, ignoring your confused stare. And just when you thought things couldn't get more surreal, one guard pauses to whisper something into another's ear, something that sends shivers down your spine. You'd think it was just a sign of violence. Maybe it's a brand marking their status as prisoners. Actually, it has nothing to do with either. Scene. The guards are suddenly gone, leaving you alone once more. The truth is, this mark is not a scar, it's a reaction to something deeper. It appears when the prisoner crosses a certain line, when they're infected by something that's as much of a threat to their life as the prison itself. You'd be surprised how quickly this place turns from a jail to a battlefield. Scene. The night falls, bringing with it an eerie silence. Everything changed when you learned about this mysterious infection, the one that lurks in every corner and waits for its moment to strike. Scene. You hear faint whispers of coughs coming from the dark corners of your cell. You'd think surviving another day would be impossible as it is. But here is a thought to keep you up at night. What happens when they catch you with that mark around your neck? And just like that, sleep becomes the last thing on your mind. You wake up to find yourself shivering uncontrollably. But here's the thing, shivering isn't just about being cold. It's also a sign that you're sick. And in this place, sick means you're one step closer to not making it out alive. You pull your wool blanket tighter around you, but it does little to stave off the chill. You wonder if maybe they're just adjusting to the cold after being outside. But here's what nobody expected. This isn't just a simple cold. The cells reek of illness, making it clear that something far worse is at play. You hear whispers about the fever and it shivers down your spine. You catch his eye, and he nods solemnly before turning away. But here's another twist. He doesn't just leave. Instead, you see him talking urgently with a few other guards outside your cell. They're clearly discussing something important, but you can't quite make out their words through the thick walls. You notice someone being carried in by two guards. Their face is pale and covered in sweat, making it obvious they're worse off than you thought. You'd think they were just moving him somewhere warmer for comfort. Maybe it was a quarantine area. Actually, it's neither. It's the infirmary where prisoners go to die. But here's another shock. While you're thinking of this place as medieval, it turns out that some things are even more brutal than you imagined. Everything changes when one of your cellmates suddenly stops breathing in his sleep. You hold your breath, hoping against hope for a miracle. You feel like time slows down as another prisoner starts coughing uncontrollably, hacking up blood into their handkerchief. But probably not. You realize that in colonial prisons, illness wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a death sentence. Just when you thought things couldn't get worse, the guard appears with something else entirely. He hands you a small vial of what looks like murky water. You're tempted to think it's some kind of miracle cure from medieval times. Maybe it's just vinegar and honey mixed together for flavoring. Actually, it's more likely that this is your last hope, a concoction meant to ease the pain before. You stare at it for a moment, contemplating what lies ahead. But here's where everything takes an unexpected turn. This isn't just about survival in colonial prisons. It's about understanding how deeply intertwined life and death were with no clear line between them. Just as the night seems to be swallowing you whole, the realization hits hard. This place isn't just harsh, it's indifferent to human suffering. You're left wondering how many others have faced this same bleak reality in their cells. But probably not, because your mind races with thoughts of what tomorrow might hold. And that's all before breakfast. You find yourself wondering how you ever thought life was easier back then. But here's what nobody expected. As night falls in colonial America's prisons, you're faced with an endless expanse of time to reflect. The walls seem to close in, and the silence echoes like thunder. You try to imagine what tomorrow holds: more chains, more darkness, but it's impossible to predict. The stars twinkle above, indifferent to your plight. It's like they're mocking you from their celestial perch. Look, they say, we got all the time in the universe. It's quiet now, so quiet that even your heartbeat feels loud enough to be heard by anyone outside the walls. You can almost hear the thoughts of those long-gone prisoners who probably wish they had today's comforts. The room smells like a rainy day in an old attic, mixed with the scent of despair. It's as if every cell has its own signature blend of hopelessness and decay. But probably not. The darkness is too thick, almost tangible. It wraps around you like a second skin, making it hard to breathe. You realize that while the physical chains can be broken, mental ones are far more enduring. And here is something strange. You think back on all the stories of colonial hardship, starvation, disease, war, and yet none capture this moment quite like your imprisonment does. It's not just about the physical suffering, it's about the relentless mental battle against hope. Perhaps that's the strangest part. Not that they live this way, but that we forgot they ever did. Forgotten moments like these are like hidden treasures, waiting to be rediscovered. And maybe by remembering them, we can understand just how far we've come. And in the pitch-black darkness, you finally fall asleep, not because your mind is at peace, but because it's too tired to resist anymore. But here's what nobody expected. When you wake up, everything changes.